What I find is when people set those kind of goals, it tends to lead to frustration and disappointment. Seldom does it really work out well. Hi, I'm Dean Jones. I'm the Global Talent Development Architect at Gallup. And today I'm here to talk with you about goal setting. Goal setting is an area I have a lot of personal passion around, with focus as my number 2 strengths theme. I think it just comes naturally to me that I'm excited about setting goals and I look forward to accomplishing them. I think that creating goals and commitments is a way to set strengths development really in motion. There's something powerful that shifts when you start to set a goal. So when you put a stake in the ground and you make a commitment, it creates a new kind of focus. In some ways, it's almost like a new beginning. Creating a goal and then committing to it really just moves you from being an observer to being a participant. It really moves you from being in the stands to on the court. All of a sudden, your perspective is different. You see things differently. All of a sudden, there's a new kind of focus and intention to the work that you do. So once you set a goal, it's kind of like you're on the hook for something and you're aiming your talents and strengths at that thing. And so part of what I think is so powerful about creating goals and commitments is that it really does shift you into gear, into motion, put you on the court relative to being able to use your talents and strengths in meaningful ways. Some things that I think are useful around goal setting. One is that I really think that the SMART goal framework, it's sort of this time-honored framework for goal setting. I think that framework is a useful one for just making your goals better. If you're not familiar with the SMART framework, SMART is really an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Again, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And I think that, well, that framework's been around for a long time. I think it's a really valuable framework for thinking about goals. What my experience is when I've looked at my own goals through that framework, or when I've helped others to think about their goals inside that framework, it tends to just make the goals better and more valuable. There's times, for instance, that I've realized, hey, these goals aren't realistic, or that I couldn't really achieve them in the time that I intended to, or that they weren't really specific and measurable enough. So there's many times when I've reshaped goals, or the people I've coached, I've asked them to reshape goals, because you could see that through that lens, those goals were not really strong enough, rigorous enough, powerful enough to kind of withstand the test of time. I do find that there's 2 common kinds of goals that people set, and I like to break them into 2 categories. Goals that are action-oriented and goals that are outcome-oriented. Action-oriented goals are the ones that kind of focus on completing a certain number of actions, right? So it's the kind of goal like, hey, I'm going to work out 3 times a week for the next quarter, or over the next quarter, I'm going to work out 36 times, where it's less about the outcome and you're more focused on building a habit or completing a set of actions. The other kind of goals are outcome goals, goals that focus on the outcome and less about how you're going to get there. Outcome-oriented goals, things like I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to finish writing that book I've been needing to write. So I don't think either type are better, and both types of goals I think are useful in certain cases. I also think that an important part of setting goals is asking, how will you use your own talents and strengths to accomplish that goal? Sometimes I think that I see people that are setting goals, but the goals that they're setting are really designed to compensate either for their weaknesses or their lack of talent or success in a particular area. It's almost like they're disciplining themselves for a talent they don't have or an accomplishment they haven't achieved. The goals are it's like they're saying to themselves, I'm going to set this goal so I force myself to do it, or to discipline myself or make myself do it. What I find is when people set those kind of goals, it tends to lead to frustration and disappointment. Seldom does it really work out well. So I actually discourage people as a coach from setting goals where the sole purpose is to compensate for their weaknesses or non-talents. When I can see that my goals and my commitments are an expression of my talents and strengths, on the other hand, when I see that I'm setting goals that are designed to fully express my talents or turn my talents into strengths, and when at the moment that I set them, I can see how I'll use my talents and strengths to accomplish those goals, I'm more likely to succeed and more likely to develop my strengths in the process. I think when you're setting goals, I think there's three things to kind of consider as you set goals. I think there's three sort of areas that I think about as you're setting goals for yourself. One is I would set goals that help you become more aware of your own talents and strengths. I like these goals because I think that they help us to be able to hone who we are and the expression of our talents. The kind of goals I'm talking about is goals that help you get the right kind of feedback about your talents and strengths. How am I doing? The kind of goals that help you to be able to deconstruct your successes or failures. How did I use my strengths successfully? What strengths were missing that would have helped me succeed? They're the kind of goals that help us to really understand the expression of our talents and strengths and how we can continue to hone them and calibrate so that they're more effective. The second second thing to consider, I think, as you start to set goals is thinking about where am I making an investment in developing my strengths? Or how am I investing in turning my talents into strengths that I can rely on? In this area, I think you want to look at what knowledge do I need to add to my talents, or how can I invest in having experiences that are aligned with my talents and strengths? Or where can I build skills or have practice in a particular area? It may be, and an area I really like is, what habits do I need to build? Or what experiences do I need to have in order to be able to take these talents and turn them into strengths? The third area is just a really obvious one and a simple one, which is setting goals that help me to be able to apply my talents and strengths in meaningful ways. Whether in the short term, the things that I want to accomplish in the next month or quarter or even year, or in the long term, what are the things that how do I want to use my talents and strengths to advance my career, or to make a difference in the lives of the people around me, or to leave a legacy from my life work. So what are the ways that I will start to use my talents and strengths to really make a difference? So setting goals that are designed to help me and focus me to be able to express those. Last, I'll say that I think that people have different relationships to goals based on their talent themes. And one of the things I've seen over the years as I've coached people around goals and goal setting, I know that for some people, goals feel like a natural expression. People that are high strategic, high focus, high futuristic, many of those folks find goal setting to be sort of intuitive and natural and exciting. They may, in some cases, be more interested in the process of setting goals than in the process of achieving them. But I do find that they tend to have a certain affinity for that process. There's folks that are analytical or deliberative who find goal setting useful as a way to be able to understand what makes them tick or what makes them effective, or as a way to make sure that they're able to kind of navigate the future. I know that people that are high discipline, for instance, typically have great, incredible follow through on goals. But oftentimes, people that are high discipline, one is we need to help them oftentimes to set realistic goals that they know they'll hold themselves to their goals, but we need to make sure that those goals are realistic and achievable for them. I know that for many people, and I've seen that for many people that lead with a lot of relationship themes, that working with others or having goals that are about achieving results through others are really important. Also for people with relationship themes, I find that goal setting as part of a team or group is useful, and having accountability partners so that goal setting isn't happening as an individual or in a vacuum, but it's setting in the context of relationships with other people. I do know also that there's people that for whom goal setting is less organic. People that are high adaptability or high arranger. And I find that sometimes people that lead with those themes have difficulty, they feel kind of constrained or locked in by goals. And oftentimes it's helpful that they think of those goals and commitments as more like a direction or a vision, something to pull them forward rather than something that they're constrained by or locked into. Finally, I know that sometimes people feel the burden of goals. People that are high responsibility or high achievers sometimes feel the weight of having to accomplish the goals or the burden of following through. And I think it's helpful for them to think about goals or to remember that goals are really designed to empower you. They're designed not necessarily to be heavy-handed, but are designed to be something that empowers you that calls you forth and empowers you to produce the kind of results that you want in your life. I think just kind of in conclusion, I really think that goals are a useful tool. They help us to be able to really create our lives and design our lives in the way that we want. They're a catalyst for us. They can be highly motivating for us, and they can be a powerful rudder or steering mechanism to take us where we want to go. But I think it's always useful to remember that the goals that we set, that we really own those goals. They're an expression of who we are, and they're not something that uses us, but something that we can use in order to be more successful in life.